All right, so today we're going to do a deep dive on something that you probably use way more often than you even realize.
Oh, yeah.
Promissory notes.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're looking at an episode from a finance podcast today.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
I think we all have that friend that's hey, can you spot me like $20?
Right.
I'll get you back next week.
Yeah.
But what happens when that goes from being, casual to something that's maybe a little more serious or a little more official?
Absolutely. And that's where these promissory notes come into play because it formalizes that agreement between two people for a loan.
So, so promissory note, what is it?
So it's essentially, like you said, it's a written contract that documents a loan agreement between two parties.
Okay.
And it includes some really crucial information,
Yeah, the podcast episode really broke it down. Like, what are the things that it has to include?
Absolutely. So you want the loan amount, like the principal amount that's being lent outright. You want the interest rate if there is one sometimes,
Right.
You might have a zero interest loan between family members or something.
Right. Like you're helping out a friend.
Exactly.
With a car repair or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or even helping out a friend buy a car. That could be a really good example for a promissory note.
Yeah.
Where you'd want to outline the terms.
So and the terms, like, when are those payments going to happen,
Absolutely. The payment schedule. How often are they going to make the payments? And then also you want to include the consequences of non-payment. Like, what happens if they default on the loan? What are the repercussions for that?
And I thought that was interesting because, the podcast episode really emphasized, like, this is about protecting yourself legally.
Yeah.
Whether you're the one lending or the one borrowing.
Absolutely. Because think about it. Like, if you just have that verbal agreement, like, hey, I'll spot you $20.
Right.
If something happens down the line and that friend doesn't pay you back, you have no legal recourse there. Right. You have no evidence.
Yeah, they could just deny it.
Exactly.
Right.
But with a promissory note, you have that signed document that serves as evidence in case of disputes or legal action.
Yeah, it's like having a receipt.
Exactly.
For the agreement that you've made.
It really is. It provides that clarity. It provides that protection.
The big moral of the story, I felt like from the podcast, was like, get it in writing.
Always get it in writing.
Always. Because you never know what could happen.
Right. Because relationships change. Things happen.
Yeah.
And you always want to make sure that both parties are protected.
So it almost sounds like it's not even really about, like, not trusting the person.
It's not about trust. It's about clarity.
It's about, like, just making sure everybody's on the same page.
It's about protecting that relationship because, money can be a very sensitive topic.
Right.
And so having that clear agreement up front can actually help preserve that relationship.
Okay, so you've convinced me. I think we need to talk about how to actually make one of these things.
Okay, sounds good.
Because I'm thinking, like, okay, this sounds like a really good idea, but I'm not a lawyer.
Right.
I don't really know where to start.
So thankfully, you don't have to be a lawyer to create a promissory note.
Okay.
There are a lot of templates available online that you can use. You can also find legal software that can help you generate one.
Gotcha.
But the key is really just making sure that it includes all of those essential elements that we talked about.
Like
loan amount, the interest rate, payment schedule, all of that stuff.
So really the important part is making sure it has all that info that we've been talking about.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Are there any other, like, kind of tips or tricks that we need to be aware of?
Oh, there are definitely some common pitfalls to avoid when creating a promissory note.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about those.
One of the big ones is making sure that the note clearly differentiates between a loan and a gift.
Oh.
Sometimes you might have a situation where you're giving money to a family member and you're not really expecting to be repaid, but you still want to have some kind of documentation.
Right.
In that case, it should be very clearly stated that this is a gift and not a loan.
Okay.
But if it is a loan, it needs to explicitly state that the money is expected to be repaid.
So don't leave any room for interpretation. Make it super clear.
Be very explicit.
All right. I like that.
Yeah.
Any other pitfalls?
Another one is to consider what happens if the borrower can't repay the full amount.
Oh, right. What if they run into trouble?
Exactly. Life happens, right?
Yeah.
So you want to think about, can they make partial payments?
Okay.
Are there late fees associated with those missed payments?
Right.
Clearly outlining these scenarios in the promissory note can prevent headaches and disputes later on.
So it's almost like you're kind of planning for the worst case scenario.
In a way, yes. It's about anticipating potential issues and addressing them up front.
Okay.
It's really about risk management.
Yeah. I like that. And that's good advice for anything.
Absolutely.
Not just a loan.
Any financial agreement you want to have, those contingencies in place.
Okay, so it's not just a piece of paper.
It's not just a piece of paper. It's a tool. It's a tool for communication. It's a tool for risk management.
And a tool to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Exactly.
All right, that's really good.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered like the main points here.
Yeah.
What's the big takeaway for our listeners?
I think the big takeaway is that promissory notes might seem like a formality.
Yeah.
But they're really crucial for transparency and accountability.
And protecting yourself.
Absolutely. And that's regardless of the amount or who's involved, even if it's your best friend.
Yeah.
You want to have that.
Yeah. Get it in writing.
Get it in writing.
All right. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So we've talked about what it is. We've talked about how to make one. We've talked about some things to watch out for.
Absolutely.
Any final thoughts?
I think a good thing for listeners to think about is, we've talked about traditional loans.
Right.
But are there other financial agreements in your life that could benefit from the same level of clarity and protection?
Like what?
So think about maybe an informal partnership that you have with somebody,
right.
Or a shared investment, or even a family loan for a down payment on a house.
Oh, yeah.
These are all situations where a promissory note could be really beneficial.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
So I would encourage listeners to consider that as they navigate their personal and professional finances.
All right. Excellent advice. So there you have it.
Yeah.
That's our deep dive on promissory notes.
Promissory notes.
We've talked about how important they are, the key things to include, some pitfalls to avoid, and even how they can impact your credit score.
Absolutely.
So remember, clarity up front can save a lot of headaches down the road.
Couldn't agree more.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
If this podcast helped you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep making these videos. Thanks for watching.